trying to understand why we liked it, because it's kind of the music's weird and disjointed, but it's subliminal messages in there that's just making us like it. But it's wonderful.
It's great to see that kind of the way that the sounds are being produced from recycled materials. It's evident from the information given as you go in, how this has been scavenged and put together and thought about over a long period of time. And I love that idea that kind of quite mundane materials are being repurposed to really underline that message, which is great. It's really strong, very, very powerful thing.
It kind of tells a story, like, so you can kind of feel the underlying kind of like sort of chances that we've got to save, like things like the planet.
I like the way it's set up as well. I like the way you just stroll in, there's no pressure. You sit down, have a listen, just relax, take in what you see.
I loved it actually. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I was surprised by it. It kept me entertained longer than I thought it would. And I loved seeing other people's reactions. There was a little girl who was jumping up and down as the emotion increased with the sound of the siren and things. It was amazing to see that.
Interesting, thought-provoking. Yeah. I really admire the mechanical devices. I think they're the most effective things. They're really kind of interesting. The repurposed nature of the birds and the burnt tree and the drums. I think they speak to a kind of post-human Earth in a way that's very compelling. If you feel like
very interesting how it's open air, but you actually have the feeling of being like in a closed space where the sound is moving. So yeah, I really enjoyed that as well. And like the variation of like emotions that these different sounds are triggering as well.
I found it really immersive, and I found myself moving towards different sounds, more not necessarily by how loud they were, but just by how intriguing they were and what was going on. So I found myself really being sort of drawn from one place to another.
I loved those sort of shimmering pieces of metal
Yeah,
when
I think that's
when they started to increase, and we were talking about that it was reminiscent of storms, but also of earthquakes.
Yeah.
And I think the most poignant, maybe not the favourite, but the most poignant was the sort of sirens. Because even though I didn't grow up with it, like my parents grew up in the age of air raid warnings, and there's something quite deep down that strikes fear when you hear that sound, even though
It's a very primal sound, the siren, isn't it? It really affects you, I think.
Yeah.
No, it'd be lovely to come back and see it in the dark, but we haven't got time. But no, it was incredible to sit and watch the different sounds and see where they were coming from, and then feel the sounds as well.
And I was impressed with it just as sculpture, and didn't realise at first that each piece had an electronic, what do you call it, actuator. And then we came back and it was playing, and it's really good.
And watching the kids, watching the hammers hit the bell, and just seeing their awe in their faces as it hits the bell, and they're like, it's magic, and it's even just that on its own was just amazing. So I loved it. It was well worth it.
I thought that some of it was really relaxing. I think it was when like the things out of the tubes was coming out and the birds were tweeting in the background. I thought it quite relaxing, and I was just laying on the grass closing my eyes. Is he doing a safe something? Cool, how they can control the ones that wiggle and make a rattling noise.
Around one place you want to be when you're listening to it. And I'm going to come back when it's dark to see what it's like when it's dark, because I should imagine the lights take on a whole different meaning. So no, awesome.
So I think the fact that it can create different types of sound is amazing. But yeah, my favourite was when we sat with that sort of angst feeling. I really liked that.
Just amazing, and the amount of different sounds and how they've been created. And they just come from all over, everywhere, and it's just amazing. I love it. I want to take a look.
At times it felt a little bit uncomfortable to some extent, but I think it brings more the attention to the messages that are then playing in the background.
Central and into the ground. We're talking about our survival. The crisis is our extinction.
So really loved the combination of the digital technology but with the very made objects. So there's something like an echo to the past in terms of the way things have been made, what they've been made from. So there's echoes of, we've just been talking lots about things that you sort of think that's like something from World War I, or that, you know, there's loads of layers in it, loads of layers. Keep spotting little tiny bits. Things like, you know, saws that are disturbing, and again it should all be because the issues are so important and so vital, so it's a juxtaposition in a beautiful landscape, something, well, it's an issue that is disturbing. The combination of how it's been put together is beautiful. It's been beautifully crafted, so yeah, it's a really moving piece. It's fantastic.